Seattle. The Mariners playing a little bit better, and they're just trying to avoid those 100 losses that tend to leave a mark. Along with Tom Green, Josh Lewin, welcome to Texas Ranger Baseball. And for your pleasure today, a 1 through 9 batting order that's, I guess, a bit more representative than what we saw yesterday. Some key guys are still out, but Julio Bourbon is now a key guy, and he's in.
Yeah, Julio Bourbon, it's been fun to watch him develop this year. He's put in a lot of hard work, and as the season winds down, he's becoming the kind of player that the Rangers envisioned him being, and an important part of the offense. Bunting the ball has become a strength. He gets the ball down in fair territory and utilizes his speed. He's had 38 infield hits. That's the second most in Major League Baseball. And in September, his average shows it. He's hitting .333.
Nice thing to have at the very bottom of that Ranger batting order. And again, as mentioned, a bit more representative Ranger batting order today. Up at the top two guys that you're very familiar with, even though Andrews is out. Kinsler is in. Michael Young is playing this afternoon as well. It's the Rangers and Seattle when we come back. By 10 over both the Angels and the A's are taking on the Mariners, and we go down to the field, find Emily Jones.
Well, guys, the scores the last two games, not exactly what the Rangers have been looking for, but the work has been done within the game that this team is trying to do.
Obviously, we want to win every game we play, but the last week here is to try and get ourselves ready for the postseason. Yesterday, the kind of goal was to, Tommy got an inning out of the pen, guys got some rest, so that was a goal yesterday. Today, we want to make sure we continue to make progress, have good at-bats, and get ourselves ready to go.
Michael Young with today's Geico quote of the game. The Rangers, of course, looking for their first home win since being crowned AL Division West champs, guys.
Em, thank you very much. And Rich Harden gets a start today with the Claw and Antlers Brigade settling in. They'll have the big parade on field on Sunday, part of Fan Appreciation Day. Those that want to bring their claws and or antlers. What a weird thing that has been this year, but what an enjoyable thing. Players are into it. Fans are into it. Rich Harden gets a chance to get back into it today. He's thrown 12 pitches in the last 25 days. And he'll be facing this lineup. Ichiro, then Figgins, and Gutierrez. Look at that. The former Ranger Justin Smoke batting cleanup today. He's homered in both games of this series so far. We slowly reveal that for you. Mangini and Hallman, Saunders and Quiros. Chris Woodward is the shortstop batting ninth. And just a reminder that Rich Harden is indeed still on this Texas Rangers ball club.
Yeah, it hasn't been a good season for Rich. His record is okay, 5-5, but his ERA is up in the fives. He's been on the disabled list twice. He's pitched much better at home, almost 3 runs better at home than he has on the road. And I think 2 stats just pretty much summarize Rich's season. He's walked 59 in 88 innings, far too many walks, and he's given up 17 home runs. So it's a combination of the walks and the home runs that has his ERA at 5.42. He's actually been fairly tough to hit overall. If you look at opponents' batting average, that's only 251. But too many base runners because of the walks and too many long balls.
Michael Young in on the grass at third. Ichiro is going to pop one up just beyond Michael Young. It's a brilliant sunshine today. This is the first time I can recall, Tom, that both you and I are wearing sunglasses at the same time for a game.
Yeah, it probably is.
I don't think that's ever happened before. And I'm looking next door. The Seattle broadcasters are doing the same thing. Murphy, Bourbon, and Francoeur in the outfield. Sunglasses a good idea for them. Young, Blanco, Kinsler, and Cantu. And Harden and Trainer. We're setting our graphics with that Exmo cam today. Slow it way down for you. There is ball 1 to Figgins. Not having the kind of season the Mariners envisioned at all. I mean, overall that's true. Seattle 61 and 96. Figgins may be an emblem of that. They simply expected much more. Although he's gotten better and better and better, we can say that, Tag. He's the first Mariner player ever, we are told, to increase his hits production every month. From 16 to 22 to 26, 27, 28, and now 32 here in September. That's a great stat if you start at a number like, say, 28 and then keep going north. But starting at 16, that helps Seattle get off to a not so great start. Into the crowd it goes, and we'll probably have about 20,000 here today. It's obviously a midday, midweek game, the last one of those this year. But anybody in the vicinity thinking, you know what, I don't have to go back to work, come on down. Great day to get a tan. On the ground is short and pursued by Blanco. A little bobble, and he will not be able to get rid of it. Scored a base hit, bringing up Gutierrez. And Tom, good to see Blanco back out there, because when he jammed that finger yesterday, it looked like that might keep him out for a little bit.
Yeah, and Blanco's got a strong arm, and it would have been interesting to see if he had enough arm strength to get Figgins, who runs pretty well. We'll never know, but it does go as a base hit anyway.
Figgins definitely a threat to run. 42 steals. That leads the team by 1. Ichiro's got 41. Now for Rich Harden, really, when you think about it, Tom, just the last chance for him to leave Ranger fans with a positive sense of who he is. Yeah, that start against the Twins in late August where he took the no-hitter. Through 6 and into the 7th, and the Ranger bullpen kept it alive all the way into the 9th. He also had the one real good start out in Oakland very early in the year, but other than that, it's just been a forgettable season for Rich.
He just hasn't been consistent with the command of his pitches. It's pretty much as simple as that. Hasn't thrown enough strikes, and frequently when he has to throw a strike, he throws a fastball, and the hitters have teed off on it. 17 home runs.
Blanco gets it towards first base with a bit of a leap right there. They get the fielder's choice, not the double play.
If you want to see how hard it is, try this at home sometime where you're jumping up in the air and throwing the ball 90 feet like he just threw that ball, and you get an idea of how difficult this play is.
But make sure your living room has like 92 feet when you try that.
By at home, I'm talking about at the high school field or your local field. And then if you really want to get an idea, try to get someone to slide in hard at you when you're jumping up in the air like that.
Also at the high school?
Yeah, you probably want to do that at the high school, too.
Just stroll the halls and you get volunteers?
On the baseball field, not in the hallways. But the point is, these guys are so talented, especially the middle infielders, that you almost take their talent for granted. And the people I'm talking to are the people who say, come out to a ball game sometimes and say, our high school team plays better fundamental baseball than that. And they really don't. And so if you want to get an idea, have your high school players and see if there's anyone that can do that.
And that, too, can be accomplished at the high school.
Yeah, I think you should do that at the high school. Because if you're a high school player, you wouldn't want to go to the junior high to practice it. You'd want to stay at the high school field.
Yeah, that's unfair to the maintenance crew at the junior high. So.
Well, they just might not have the field in good enough shape for it.
Justin Smoak already has rammed a couple of home runs in this series. How about 3 in his return to Arlington? Amazing. And we said this yesterday. The Rangers knew full well they were giving up value to get value. Cliff Lee is going to be a very important part of what the Rangers are. Hopefully all the way through late October. But boy, the Mariners have to feel good right now about how Smoak is swinging. A pair of 2-run homers and a 3-run homer for Smoak.
He's swinging the bat well, and it helps when you get a meatball like that right down the middle of the plate, too. But the other side of it is you'll see a lot of pitches in the game just like that. Not all of them are hit for home runs. You still have to have the talent to hit that pitch. But it starts with a good pitch to hit, and that was a pretty good pitch to hit.
Matt Mangini has only been in the big leagues a little more than a week. Takes a strike, and we're told that's a 412-foot homer for Smoak. It's his 5th as a Mariner. He had 8 as a Ranger. Harden just the one appearance since September 4th. He threw 2/3 of an inning against the Yankees on September 11th. 18 days since he's pitched. Looking pretty sharp right there, striking out Mangini. Smoak hit one out, and the Rangers will have to come from behind today. It's 2-0. drive one, for it is the best in Texas. Rangers heading to the postseason, and en Espanol, it's time. It has happened. The Rangers. Hey, and we apparently rocked, Tom.
Ever since we put those horns on for the pregame show.
Well, I'm going to suggest to you we mildly rocked even before that. But
Think so?
Well, maybe not, but definitely more so since we rocked the Antlers.
I think the only people that have said that about me are people I don't know.
It's going to be Kinsler leading off, then Young and Cantu. The Rangers trail 2-0. Kinsler skies one towards right. We mentioned Kinsler, then Young, and Jorge Cantu moved up to third in the order. Vlad Guerrero out, Nelson Cruz out. Frank Ford gets a shot at hitting cleanup today. Then Murphy and Molina, Trainer, Blanco, Bourbon against Jason Vargas, the lefty who is one of many Mariner pitchers, I guess, Tom, and deserves a better fate.
Yeah, he's pitched well this year. His ERA is under 4, taking the ball every 4 or 5 days. He's had 5 starts in September. He looks like maybe he's getting a little tired toward the end of the season. He's 0-5. In fact, he's lost his last 7 starts. Seems to pitch better the first and second time through the lineup than the third time. But he's a good lefty. He's got good stuff. Kind of a Dallas Braden kind of guy. He might throw. I think throws about the same as far as velocity goes. He's pitched much better at home this year, though, than he has on the road. Really good home record. On the road, his ERA is over 5. He's had 20 quality starts this year. That's in the top 10 in the American League. So he's been pretty consistent. Generally one of those guys that goes out and gives you at least 6 innings and a chance to win, as they say.
Well, he is so far looking pretty good. Kinsler flies out. Young strikes out, and up comes Cantu. Vargas, originally Marlins property, and actually arrived to Seattle via the Mets. We mentioned the Marlins. That's where the Rangers imported Jorge Cantu, or from where they imported Jorge Cantu. That was at the end of June, and it took until almost the end of September to finally see a run batted in from Jorge. But then he provided 2 of the biggest ones all year in that game that clinched everything out there in Oakland. Towards second. And backhanded, they'll say that is an out. Yep. Just confirming, Sean Figgins. Down in order are the Rangers, and it is 2-0 Seattle at the end of 1.
Mike, tell us a little bit about your organization.
Well, RISE provides recreational and therapeutic programs for anyone physically disabled, including veterans. We run weekly programs, and this fall we'll be running camping, fishing, hand cycling, golf, and sailing.
Excellent. For those who want to get involved, what do they need to do?
Check out the website at riseadventures.org. We're always in need of volunteers, donors, sponsors, and collaborators.
And someone else involved in that is former Ranger Benji Gill right here. You're part of Rise Adventures?
Yes, absolutely. It's a tremendous organization. Everybody should go to the website and take a look at what they do. It's very moving and just awesome.
There we go. Okay, guys, good to have you out here. Appreciate the time. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Jim, and welcome everybody. Greg Hallman pops out. There's one down. Michael Saunders comes up next. Rich Harden allowing his 19th home run of the year, and not even 100 innings of work. Justin Smoke hitting it out in the first. The Angels come to town tomorrow. And that's going to be Cliff Lee getting his final tune-up.
That's one benefit the Rangers have had with their big lead, is whoever pitches the last week of the season, it's set up exactly the way the Rangers wanted it.
Fair ball off the bat of Saunders. He's chugging towards second base. Takes the turn and comes on back. He's got a one-out double.
It wasn't out of necessity based on having to make the playoffs against the teams you're playing. It's being able to set it up so that it's just the way you want it with the right amount of rest going into postseason play. Another pitch in the middle of the plate.
And Tom, we do know for sure now that the Rangers will open Wednesday, October 6th at either New York or Tampa Bay. Just a matter of who finishes first in the East. Tampa Bay owns that head-to-head tiebreak, by the way. The Rays are a half a game up on the Yankees right now. But essentially they might as well be a game and a half up, because even if the Yankees tie and Tampa Bay would be told that they're the division champs, the Yankees would be the wild card. So I guess if you had to handicap it, it's looking a little bit more like the Rangers might draw Tampa Bay, but we just don't know that yet.
Don't know it yet. Might not know it till right at the end.
Wednesday the 6th, Thursday the 7th, somewhere east. And then back here Saturday, October 9, and maybe Sunday, October 10. It's a best-of-5 series. And if there is a Game 5 necessary, that's Tuesday, October 12th on the road. And the Rangers could pick between C.J. Wilson and Cliff Lee, assumably for that one. Wave and a miss by Quiroz, a one-time Texas Ranger. Now, Tommy Hunter, as we've learned, is going to be the long man in that first round. And Tommy got a taste of that yesterday. He's going to actually get a chance to start Friday. But will not be asked to pitch all that deep into the game. Foul tip held. So Rich Harden gets credit for a strikeout. 2 down. Saturday is when C.J. Wilson will get his last tune-up. That's the last regular season night game of the year. And then the regular season home finale Sunday the 3rd. That's Colby Lewis. Wally Bell, your home plate umpire, by the way, says it's 1-0. Chris Woodward, kind of an unlikely guy to have a 3-homer game in his career, but he did that. Now a part-time player here for Seattle. "79 degrees at the ballpark today. Not even cloud number 1. Don't know what it is about the number 9 guys in the order for Rich Harden, but he has now faced 35 number 9 hitters this year. He's walked 3 of them, given up 11 hits. Number 9 hitters are batting .344 against him, and that on-base percentage now has got to be close to .400. By walking Woodward, you give Ichiro a chance to do something here. 2 on, 2 out. By the way, Tom, we should mention coming up pretty soon in the broadcast, we expect a visit from the commissioner of Major League Baseball. Bud Selig is here today.
That'd be pretty cool.
Get the state of the state from the commissioner. Mr. Selig has been in office officially since 1998. Of course, he was the acting commissioner 6 years even before that. It's been a lot to negotiate and navigate between then and now. Ichiro skips it past the mound. Kinsler to Blanco. And Harden is out of the inning. 2 left for Seattle. 2-0 our score. TexasRangers.com. Browse the largest online selection of authentic team gear, including the caps and t-shirts and jerseys. All the cool playoff stuff. It's all available at TexasRangers.com. Jeff Francoeur, first pitch of the inning, is going to almost take one out. On his way to second base, and in there standing up with a double. Jeff Francoeur, first time hitting cleanup. And he just continues to impress, Tom. 14 for his last 32 at-bats. And a reminder of what he was for the Atlanta Braves for a while. And the Rangers get that leadoff man to second base and get the tying man to the plate. As the Rangers look to rally, our distinct pleasure to have, as promised, the Commissioner of Major League Baseball joining us. And we scripted this perfectly, Mr. Selig. 79 degrees for you here in Arlington today.
Oh, you did. You sure did.
And as if on cue, positive things keep happening for the Rangers here.
I came in and you got 2 base runners now with nobody out. It's pretty good.
Meaning you don't get to leave until this inning is
that's
over.
okay. That's fine.
Now, I know Chuck Greenberg very excited to have you in town, and I know you're very excited to have Chuck Greenberg in the fraternity.
Well, as I said to the press a little while ago, this was a long and winding road, as the Beatles once said, and but it has had a great ending, great ownership group. local ownership group. And Nolan Ryan's presence obviously is helpful, and Chuck has got great experience in running minor league teams, and it just, I can't tell you how happy I am and how happy everybody in baseball. You know, we approved their sale, Josh and Tom, faster than anything in the history of baseball.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really remarkable. I said I can't make you any promises, but Ray Davis and Bob Simpson came down, and everything just worked out great. So within 5 days, they got approved. Some have taken many months, so it just shows you how excited everybody was. And it's a great thing for Ranger fans. It's a great thing for the franchise. It's just, I just can't tell you how happy. So I'm really happy to be here. I've been here for quite a while, so it's great to walk the ballpark and see everything.
And obviously, with the Rangers winning this year, the Cincinnati Reds winning this year, I would think any commissioner of any sport is happy when there is some turnover, that every team gets a shot to compete.
Well, Josh, let me tell you, and it's the thing that frustrates me on occasion, Tom. The people talk about, I call it competitive balance. Pete Rozelle used to call it parity. We have more than ever before in the history of baseball. In the last 5 to 8 years, we've had more teams in the playoffs than any other sport. This year, Josh, you got Cincinnati, you have San Diego fighting for it, you have the Rangers, Tampa, of course, battling with the Yankees, Minnesota. I mean, we have, it's never going to be perfect, but when I talk about competitive, it can't be any better than it is right now.
7 different teams have won the last 8 World Series.
That's exactly right.
And you're right, when you do the math, you can extrapolate it out 15, 20.
Well, I had a fan the other day stop me. And I was in Chicago and said, the trouble with the Yankees, we used to have it better in our day. And I said, well, our day was my day, too. Let me tell you something. From 49 to 64, the Yankees won 14 pennants and 10 world championships. So tell me how that's better than this. And he looked at me and said, oh, really? Yes, well, oh, really is right. So by any other standard, any standard you want to use, we really do have great competitive balance.
How about the state of the game? A lot of us say, well, we remember the good old days when attendance was the best it's ever been. What about the state of the game?
Well, Tom, I'm happy to tell you the grand old game has never been this popular. It's never, in every way, it's better than it was. Let me give you a lot of examples. The last 7 years are the 7 best years in baseball history attendance, including this year, by far. In a lot of teams, the post-war World War II era, they said that was the golden age of baseball. The average team drew under 1 million. The average attendance was about 12 to 13,000 a game. Now the average team this year will draw 2.4 to 2.5, and the average attendance will be about 31 or 32,000. Wow. With every game on television too, which is great. Sure. So I just, by any standards, Josh and Tom, you want to use, this game's never been this popular.
Yeah, it's funny because I mean, for my generation, I was a little kid in 1975, and I always thought that the Reds and the Red Sox that year, that World Series, you couldn't get any better than that. There was no American League team that even drew 2 million fans in 1975.
That's exactly right. Things have changed. When the Braves came to Milwaukee, that's 1953, in the alleged golden era of the sport, they set an all-time record.
Murphy on the run has to come on back because Molina cooperating with a long bat so we can keep talking. Finally fouls out here.
The Braves drew 1,826,000, which was an all-time record. Mm-hmm. Well, today that would be 400,000 or 500,000 under the major league average. And our revenues have grown, and use of revenues just to show you how popular. In answer to your question, Tom, when I took over in '92, the gross revenues of sport were $1.2 billion. This year will be over $7 billion. Wow. So the game is doing just great.
What about the relationship between the owners and the players today?
Far better than ever was. You'll remember this well, as I do. I came into baseball in 1969, 1970. There were 8 work stoppages, including the '94, which canceled the World Series because they were on strike. This is the longest era of peace in the history of baseball, 16 years.
And it kind of feels like that, too. I mean,
you bet. And I hope it's going to be a lot more, and I believe it will. Look, they'll have issues. We have issues. Michael Weiner had a tough job. Rob Manfred has a tough job with us. but the attitude is so much better. You notice, as comparison to years ago, nobody's ripping each other in the press, and we work together on a lot of things. And so if somebody would have told me in 1995 that we'd be sitting here 15, 16 years later and we'd have peace, I would have my doubts, but I'm proud of that.
Great. Commissioner Bud Selig joining us. Everybody gearing up for the postseason. Again, the Rangers are in it for the first time since 1999. Are you comfortable right now, Mr. Selig, with how the playoffs are laid out in terms of when the games are played and all of that? I know there's talk about always rejiggering some of that.
Yeah, there's always something you'd like to do better. I said last Friday in Chicago's Wrigley Field that I would certainly take a look at adding 2 more playoff teams, but just take a look at it. I told the press today, I remember how I got ripped in the 90s, you remember, for the wild card. Sure. Oh, you'd have thought I ruined baseball. Now, of course, they want more wild card teams. But, I'm overall comfortable. You guys need to get Josh Hamilton healthy, and that'll certainly help the Rangers situation immensely. But I'm excited this year. We have new teams, different teams. I guess you're going to play the winner of the American League East. You're going to either play the Yankees or Tampa. I've been asking everybody here who they'd rather play, but I'll let you guys decide.
I don't think you've gotten any answers to that question.
Well, actually, I did talk to the umpires who were unanimous in who they thought would be easier for the Rangers. And but I know I've talked to Nolan and Chuck about it. That's just going to be interesting, and I think Tampa and the Yankees might battle right till Sunday.
Sure looks like
you guys may not know anything until Sunday.
Well, we've got a flight on Monday morning going one place or the other, but I don't know.
You know this: you'll either go to New York or Tampa.
Right.
Commissioner Bud Selig joining us. The Rangers trailing 2-0 here. And a thankfully long bottom of the second inning, so we can keep grilling.
It's great. It's all right. I'm enjoying this.
You said something earlier. You got ripped? When was that? I can't imagine that would ever happen.
Well, actually, the last 5 or 6 years have been pleasant. The 90s were tough. But the outcry over the wild card was really, really amazing. I kid Bob Costas to this day, who now admits that he was wrong. But I didn't think he was wrong in 93, 4, or 5. And there were other people, because baseball, I always describe baseball as a social institution. Those are naturally resistant to change. And, baseball people are resistant. And I am too, frankly. But we only have 8 teams in the playoffs, guys.
8 out of 30.
Yeah, they're 8 out of 30. We have the least number of teams in playoffs. So we've been very careful to protect things. We don't do what the other sports have done. I'm not being critical. It's just a fact. And so I was concerned, but once we kept expanding and went to 30 teams, you had to add 2 wild card teams. Otherwise, teams would be out of it. Man, now look, Atlanta and San Diego are probably going to go to the wire battling over the wild card, or San Francisco or whomever. That's great. And so it's worked out well.
Matt Trainer drills one. Ichiro reaching up makes the catch. Francoeur will tag. Took a while, but the Rangers finally do get that run across. There was a double, an error, a foul out. And now the sac fly makes it 2-1 in favor of Seattle. Now, Mr. Selig, we were talking earlier about attendance in very glowing terms, and I guess since we're on the subject of Tampa Bay, it's kind of a weird flashpoint this week where today, as we speak, they're saying, hey, we're just going to open the gates because we want people there. Is that something on your plate? Do you worry about Tampa Bay?
Well, there's a couple of franchises that I'm a little concerned about. They got a wonderful team, as you guys know, play them a lot. And
hopefully Murphy's okay. Ron Washington out with Jamie Reed, and I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but Murphy's going to be escorted back.
No, he's walking all right.
Guess you can't be too careful heading into the postseason.
No, that's right.
We'll get a pinch runner. I'm sorry, Mr. Selig. Go ahead.
No, that's right. I know David Price and Evan Longoria spoke up. I talked to Stu Sternberg a lot. They're a great organization.
Yeah, it is.
They've done their work remarkably well. And one thing I do at night, guys, and I watch you guys a lot, I watch all 15 games. Oh, no, don't be sorry. I enjoy it. My best days are the only person that's angry generally is my wife, because I started about 6 and I'm still there at 11:30 or 12. So, and I look at attendance, too. That's I not only want to watch the game, but I want to see the crowd. And I don't blame the Tampa people are concerned. And so after the season, Stu Sternberg and I are going to have some conversations about that.
Well, meantime, out here on the field, they're discussing who to grab as a pinch runner. A 2-1 game, the Rangers and Seattle. Where do you go from here, Mr. Selig? Are you kind of on a little junket here to talk to some other teams?
No, in fact, right the day after the sale, everybody was so happy, including me. And Chuck Greenberg and Nolan both said to me, well, why don't you come down and you'll visit with the press and all of us and everything. I said, I'd be happy to. We made this day. So I'll sort of play it by ear now and get ready for the playoffs.
And do you hop from series to series to series?
Well, the first series, or the first week in the division series, I like to stay home because I want to watch all 4 games. And some days, if you travel, you miss a couple of games or 3. But I may go from series I may go from city to city. If you guys keep playing,
yeah, we'd like to have you.
Oh, I'd be thrilled to come back.
Now, just a couple more for you real quick.
That's good. Go ahead.
And it's weird that, I'm not sure what's going on with Murphy by now.
Maybe they felt that you guys ought to have some more time with him.
Well, we love more FaceTime for you. It's fine.
He's either got an injury that they can help correct.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They can't find the replacement for him.
They got roster call-ups all over the place. You think there's somebody.
The person they want might have sneakers on and need to get a pair of spikes on,
or they think they can cure whatever it was.
So, just real quick, before we let you go, Mr. Selig, instant replay is another little kind of hot-button topic, or was anyway, but it seems to me that the way that's working out right now, I'm not hearing really anybody saying that there's anything bad about it.
No, I think it's worked well, and everybody I talk to.
That's Moreland pinch running, by the way.
Everybody I talk to a lot of managers. I have the special committee where I have Jimmy Leland and Tony La Russa and Mike Scioscia and Joe Torre. And I talk to them a lot. I've talked to a lot of other general managers. I'm willing to consider more guys, but we want to be careful. As you well know, Tom and Josh, baseball is a game of pace. And you can't disturb the pace. You can't. I had Joe Torre said to me the other day, I can't have my manager sitting there for 3 or 4 minutes, 4 or 5 times, late in the game, because it just isn't possible. But we're going to revisit it again this winter and see if, on a very limited basis, there's something else or two that we should add.
Well, on many fronts, bravo, and thank you for being here today.
Pleasure to be with both of you.
Great to see you again.
Lots of good luck. Tommy, nice to see you. Thank you.
That's the commissioner, Bud Selig. He was in the booth to get the Rangers a run. It is 2-1 at the end of 2.
Great job.
Texas Ranger Baseball brought to you by the Ford F-150. Ford is the best in Texas. And by Geico Insurance, where 15 minutes can save you 15% on car insurance. Also by AT&T. Rethink possible. Mitch Moreland stays in the game, plays right, and that bumps Jeff Francoeur to left. Only the 3rd time he'll play left field in his major league career, we were told. He was a right fielder all the way with the Braves and the Mets. A 2-1 game as we go to the 3rd. Rich Harden will be facing Sean Figgins, then Gutierrez, and then Smoke, who's got the 2-run home run today.
Josh, I was going to thank some people for what they sent up today while the commissioner was here, but I figured that might not be appropriate. So
Why?
I've waited till the top of the third.
You didn't want to share the cake balls?
I was afraid he might take that bag of crackers we've got with him once he heard me describe them. That one must have
grazed him, yeah.
Looked like he got out of the way, but it must have just nicked him.
He sold it to Wally Bell. Matt Trainor's going to carp about a little bit, but Wally Bell says Figgins can take first.
Must have nicked his uniform. Sounded like it went right in the catcher's mitt. Let's check it out.
Maybe.
Must have just nicked him in the side.
Right in the wallet.
And usually for an umpire, that's fairly easy to tell. Not that they can see that, but you can hear it.
Little change of direction there, it looked like.
Yeah, it's hard for us to tell.
All right, you're on, Willard.
All right, we want to thank Nancy Mullen from Lake Hawkins, Texas. She sent up some very delicious seasoned crackers. You can tell by the way people are eating that they're very good.
Yep.
Here's another one that I think sent it to the wrong box. To the 2 best announcers in the world. Again, that probably meant for Dave Niehaus, but too bad that's the way it goes.
Yeah, well, we're keeping it. So.
Great cookies baked by Teresa Thompson and Carrie Hawkins, both of Edgewood, Texas. In fact, Teresa's here. It's her birthday. She wants us to celebrate with her, so thank you.
Blanco to Kinsler. Kinsler whips it to first, not in time.
Didn't look like a double play when the ball was hit, especially with Gutierrez running, but it almost was.
Another chance for Justin Smoke now with a runner on.
Everything sped up the minute that ball hit Blanco's glove. Not a very hard hit ball, but watch how quickly he gets rid of it. And Ian, with quick hands and a strong arm, made it a real close play at first base.
Smoke with 3 homers, 7 runs batted in this series.
Here's my favorite one. We got some goodies from Rhonda and Bill Hilliard from Abilene. And Rhonda writes, "It's our first time here and we've already met the cookie lady. Very exciting."
That is pretty cool.
And then the last one, we got some nice cheese wafers from Bob and Janice Test. They're from Abilene, Texas as well. So
thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Smoke started horribly for Seattle. Was 1 for his first 33. Couldn't really get much better than that. Ended up down at AAA. And actually started coming on for the Tacoma Rainiers. He's carried that into the last couple of weeks here of the regular season for Seattle.
I bumped into Evan Grant in the press dining room. He got here a little bit late today.
Evan was in the press dining room?
Yeah, he was. And he said, "You know, I listened to the game the other night, and I hope you won't take this the wrong way. But I tuned on, expecting to listen to a baseball game, and it sounded more like you guys were judging a bake sale at the county fair." And I said, "Well, good. Glad you caught us right in the 3rd inning." Jealous you weren't here to partake.
Well, Harden now missing to Smoke. Again, if Harden's not completely sharp, you give him a little bit of understanding on that one, having pitched for 2/3 of an inning in the last 25 days. But now would be a good time to start getting sharp. You got 2 on, just 1 out. And a rookie up there, Matt Mangini. Strike on the outside. No report yet on David Murphy, by the way. As soon as we get something, we'll pass it along to you. Josh Hamilton appears to be progressing, and the hope is he'll play in a game or 2 this weekend. If he doesn't swing the bat again, Tom, he'll end with a .361 batting average. He will win the American League batting title. But statistically speaking, you'd love to have him get back in there and bump those RBIs up to 100, just to show everybody what this season was all about.
Yeah, that would be nice, but I guess the main thing is I think we'd just like to see Josh healthy enough to go out there and play a few games and then see him in postseason play. That's what everyone's kind of not counting on, but hoping for. Josh seems to have ramped up the workouts the last couple of days, maybe pushing the issue a little bit.
Well, we saw Jacoby Ellsbury try to come back from that injury right here on this field, and 2 swings into that comeback, he was pretty much right back on the DL. So
yeah, that's right.
You have to be careful. Ooh, Mangini missing or taking inside. We go to Emily Jones.
Guys, 50 total swings for Josh today, 10 off the tee, 30 at 80%, and then 10 at 95%. He said he will no longer take batting practice on the field. That way he can resist the temptation of trying to do too much. Also ran the bases, and he says when he swings, if he releases that top hand faster, it alleviates some of the pain.
Thank you, Em, just in time, because that's a 4-6-3 double play. Harden's out of the inning. And the Rangers coming up down 2-1. Bourbon to lead it off. Quartermen are both in because the word is out. Julio Bourbon now knows how to bunt really, really well. Tied for the major league lead in bunt hits, matter of fact. And overall, with a batting average of .341 in the last 4 weeks and .400 over the last week and a half, you just get the sense that these are good times for Julio Bourbon. Well, right there, he's going to take strike 3. Vargas, despite that 9-12 record, a tough cookie. All right, for David Murphy, a left groin strain is what we're told. And it seemed like a really innocuous way that it happened, just trying to get back to the bag.
And you're not sure exactly when it happened because he had to run hard on the ground ball that Figgins booted.
Yeah.
It could have been beginning right there and aggravated a little more after that. And we just hope that it's not serious enough to be more than a few days.
Well, as Hamilton gets ready to come back, hopefully Murphy is not ready to head out. You'd like to have them both. In the left, and Kinsler is out. Again, the Rangers already giving Vlad Guerrero and Nelly Cruz a day off today, although if the Rangers needed them for one big swing late in the game today, you could go and do that. Boy, if Nelly had stayed healthy this year, the numbers would have been pretty incredible.
Probably would have been about 310, 35, and 120, something like that. 115, 120.
25 bags.
Probably would have stolen over 20 bases. Probably would have hit 35 or 40 doubles. Would have made the All-Star team.
Inside to Michael Young, who surprisingly did not make the All-Star team. But again, a very solid, typical Michael Young year. Got a shot to drive in 90 runs. 3 home runs away from his career best of 24. On the ground, and the backhand pickup by Figg. It's a pirouette. His throw is wide. Infield hit for Michael Young. The Rangers leading the majors in infield hits. There's one for Michael. These are the top 2 teams in the American League in infield hits, the Rangers and Seattle. Cantu will take strike 1. Hey, look at the standings today, Tom. It's a little weird to see the Rangers 10 games up on 2 teams right now. So the Angels, who won yesterday, have actually caught the A's. They're both 77 and 80. They're both 10 games behind the Rangers.
I'm sure both of those teams have modest goals of trying to finish in second place and reach 500. They've got time to do that.
Popped up by Cantu. And that will end the inning. 2-1 at Seattle at the end of 3. .30 a.m. till 1 right at the home plate gate. The rally is free and open to the public. Fans are asked to wear Rangers red. You can be the first to buy and wear your AL West Division champion t-shirt. Nolan Ryan will speak. Chuck Greenberg will speak. John Daniels, Ron Washington, they'll all be there. We hope you can be there too. First pitch of the inning popped up. Greg Hallman. And Michael Young will make a two-hand catch. 2 runs, 3 hits for Seattle. 1 run on 2 for the Rangers. I'm kind of holding our breath about David Murphy right now, hoping that that groin strain that's been reported is nothing too serious. There's some other late season injuries, Tom. Looks like Miguel Cabrera out for the year now for Detroit. Rolled his ankle the other day. Derek Holland loosening. Scott Feldman was a Rangers starter yesterday. Went 4 1/3. Rangers lost that game 3-1. And really, that was going to be a tough game to win no matter who was pitching for the Rangers, Tom. There was Felix Hernandez going the other way.
Yeah, and he pitched another good game. Another real good game.
So if you had a vote, is he your Cy Young?
I think I'd go with him. Yep, just because I think he's the best pitcher in the league. I think I'd go with him. But, you know, if you said I like David Price or I like John Lester, I wouldn't argue with you. I think there's a number of guys having really good seasons. I have to think it's going to be one of the closer votes.
Me too.
With more people involved in the voting. It's opening day of deer season.
Apparently. Wear your orange vest and come on out. Low to Saunders. No, that's 3 walks and a hit batsman so far for Harden. Brings up Guerrero Quiros. Now, this is the time of year, I guess, you start to talk about the individual races, the Cy Youngs, the MVPs. And obviously around here, the hope is that the injury to Josh Hamilton that's cost him pretty much all of September will not dim his chances. I think Josh's chances were outstanding as of September 4th. But having not played for 3, almost 4 weeks now, you just hope that doesn't work against him.
It's going to be a pretty close vote in the National League when you look at Cy Young, too. I think if you went back a month or two, you would have thought Ubaldo Jimenez was a shoo-in, but I think coming down, looking at the statistics in front of us right now, it's got to be a two-way race. Roy Halladay, Adam Wainwright. And you know who's in the top 10 in ERA? How about that?
Who's
number 10 in the National League in ERA? R.A. Dickey.
R.A. Dickey's had a great year for the Mets.
ERA.
He's been the best thing the Mets have had going.
Halladay and Wainwright are the top 3 in ERA, top 3 in wins, top 2 in innings pitched. I think Halladay is going to win it.
Popped up by Quiros. Good job of Harden getting ahead of him. Makes it easier to do what you want at that point. National League MVP, I think, is going to be a tricky one. The Reds have had that insanely good year from Joey Votto. And the Reds have been a feel-good story. And as for Rookie of the Year, well, in the American League, it'd be tough to vote against Neftali Feliz. But there's some up Detroit way that'll say Austin Jackson, the native Texan, deserves some consideration too.
I think when you look at NL MVP, if Votto wins it, the deciding factor will be the fact that they're going to postseason play and Colorado isn't, because Carlos Gonzalez has had an equally fine year, maybe a notch better.
Well, and the Rangers Off the field, could be looking at a manager of the year and an executive of the year with Ron Washington and John Daniels.
Sure.
Wash was JD's hire. That would really validate both of them in many ways. Not that they need it, because their on-field action speaks for itself. But that's nice to have some hardware, nice to have the recognition from your peers. Fouled away, and again, Harden's ahead. This is number 9 batter, Woodward, and we talked earlier about Harden having trouble sometimes this year putting away the number 9 guy. The only Seattle scoring on the 2-run homer from Justin Smoke. And the Mariners trying to make it 4 straight wins. Just a couple weeks ago, they had a 7-game losing streak. Dug out of the dirt by Trainer. Three more wins, the Rangers would have 90 for the year. More than 90 hasn't happened that often in the history of this franchise. Only once in the last 9 years has this division been won with as few as 92 wins. If the Rangers don't win again, they'll win this division at 87. Outfield straight up for Woodward. The count 2-2. Runner goes. Bull tapper, no problem. Harden's got it. And he is off the mound and out of the inning. Rangers trail 2-1. Bottom of the 4th coming up. Youth baseball throughout the state of Texas. If you'd like to learn more, go to ChevyTexasBaseball.com. Underway, bottom 4. That's Jeff Francoeur at the plate. He doubled on the first pitch he saw in the second. Hard to believe he was a .211 hitter for the Mets this year. He's about doubled that as a Ranger.
Yeah, the Rangers are getting a lot of good performance out of Francoeur, no doubt about that. And I think maybe coming over here, it gives you a little bit of a second wind, get you pumped up playing in a pennant race, get your adrenaline pumping. I think players sometimes can get in a rut in a certain city, especially a city like New York when you're not a contender.
Ichiro locks that one up, one down.
Whatever the reason, he's had big hits in important games. Has to have played himself right onto the playoff roster, that's for sure.
Moreland coming up to hit. And we'll check out our trivia question for this afternoon. Brought to you by AT&T. First pitcher in Major League history to throw no-hitters each of his first 2 complete seasons in the big leagues. He just might be in the ballpark today. Inside almost hit Moreland, 1-0. A 3-1 loss yesterday, a 2-1 deficit today for the Rangers. And yes, they're hoping they finish strong here, but history suggests it really doesn't matter that much what you do the last week of the season heading in.
I think it'd just be nice to say you won the division and won 90 games. I think that just is a round number that looks good for your team, looks good for the division. And you're right, it doesn't mean a whole lot, but looks good.
Love to get to 92. It will take running the table to do that. Make Nolan Ryan look even better than he already looks if he got that number just right. From top to bottom, this franchise off the field, as we've discussed, looking real good right now. A lot of the decisions they've made. Obviously, the decision to spend money on Vlad Guerrero was a home run. Even little things like scaling through all those different backup infielder possibilities, about 5 of them in spring training, and then finally, right at the end, grabbing Andres Blanco. What a great move that turned out to be. That was one of the weird storylines in spring training, if you remember back that far. Trying to replace Khalil Green, who never showed up. They had signed Khalil Green to replace Omar Vizquel. And to fill that gap, the Rangers auditioned Ray Olmedo and Ron Iribarren, Gregorio Petit. And we were just getting to really know and champion those names in spring training, Tom. And then along comes Andres Blanco. And he was in the last chair when the music stopped.
And they looked at a lot of people, and they just weren't satisfied until they got to Blanco.
Benji Molina flies out. We are at the end of 4, and it stays 2-1. no-hitters his first 2 seasons, and he is celebrating a birthday today. And he is in the booth with us right now. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. Happy birthday, Buzz.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. Very nice of you guys to do that. Thanks.
The one at Detroit, a little chilly on April the 27th, 73?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was against a team that was getting a little long in the tooth also, that had been very, very good for a number of years. About 38 degrees, I think it was, at game time. And, in Detroit, that old stadium, that wind howls in there, and it makes it so hitters don't really want to hit.
They definitely don't want to hit one off the handle,
no,
that's for sure.
No, or the end of the bat.
Ichiro leads it off. How did you then celebrate your first big league no-hitter? What did you do to head out into the Detroit city to tell everybody what you did?
We went to Lindell's AC.
Fabled sports bar.
Yeah, which is about 3 blocks from the stadium. And to be quite honest, I don't remember a whole lot after that. It was kind of a blur.
Buzz was buzzed?
Yeah, well, yeah, it must be the ice up there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite a night. Quite a night.
There's been a lot of people throughout baseball over the years that celebrated even less than a no-hitter at Lindell AC.
Yeah, it was fairly popular, I think.
And you would get athletes from all 4 sports in there sometimes.
That's right.
The Lions guys would come down there, and
I thought I was in real trouble when in there one night. I'd had a couple of adult beverages, and Andre the Giant walked in, and I thought, I've had a little more than I need.
That guy looks like he's 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Ichiro with a base hit. What new? Another 200-hit season for him. He's had one of those every year that he's been in the big leagues. Well, Buzz, our last chance probably to talk a little Rich Harden with you, because it doesn't look like Rich will be leaned on here in the postseason to start. And obviously the thought was, we were just talking about spring training, and what we were all thinking back in March. Such a buzz about Rich Harden back then that, if the Rangers were going to do anything this year, that means Harden will have had a big season. And, the Rangers had a big year, but Harden had a disappointing season.
Been a strange year, I think, Josh, for both he and Scott Feldman. Rich Harden especially. It's been hard to figure out, and I know Rich has worked on everything possible that he could think of, that Mike Maddox could think of, that Andy Hawkins could think of, to try and right the ship and get some consistency, but it just never has been there. And there are probably as many reasons for that as there are opinions about it. And, they're all probably right a little bit, but boy, trying to figure it all out and put it into a complete package, a concise package that you can use, is almost impossible.
Figgins is going to find right field. And that's trouble, because Ichiro will easily get to third. Figgins with his speed is on his way to second. Ichiro was ready to come on in. And they will send him back.
That literally was take 2 and hit to right there. Usually you're talking about a right-hand hitter. He swung and missed at the first pitch, and then took the second pitch, break down the middle. Wasn't thinking about swinging at it at all. Then gets a pitch inside. Doubles to right.
It looked like that ball got him about the second knuckle of his left hand.
Sure did.
Infield comes in, not all the way to the grass, but in enough, trying to cut down a run. Franklin Gutierrez, the batter. Derek Holland back up again in the Ranger bullpen. Take it back to Ichiro, putting on the brakes. Lee Tinsley says, go back. In there for a strike. What about the Seattle pitcher today, Buzz? What do you think about Jason Vargas?
He's a quality pitcher. I like a left-hander that has that kind of movement. Pretty good location. We've seen him a couple times against the Rangers where he's pitched very well, acquitted himself very nicely. I think he's going to be a guy the Mariners can count on, and in the middle of that rotation, maybe the tail end of that rotation.
Let's see if Harden can finish off Gutierrez. He's hit a couple of ground balls in this one. Not the ground ball this time. That's going to drop in. Ichiro scores easily. Figgins is hot on his trail, and the ball hits him, rolls away. That means Gutierrez can go all the way to third. That did not go well. It is now 4-1.
Yeah, Figgins stopped to see if the ball was going to fall in and started a little bit late, but he was waved around by the third base coach. Frank Hoer has a strong arm playing out in left field, made a strong throw home. Unfortunately, the hop, which would have made it what looked like a close play at the plate, hit the runner. You see Figgins stop. Now he comes, waved around all the way. The throw's just a little bit off line, but if it was on the line, it might have been a close play at the plate.
Harden is done, and the Rangers will bring Derek Holland into the mix with our score of 4-1. Come back and talk more with Steve Busby in a moment on Fox Sports Southwest. A 4-1 lead now for the Mariners, and Derek Holland takes over. You know, before we even talk about Derek Holland with Steve Busby, one thing we definitely should mention, Buzz, is the Rangers have activated Mark Lowe, the former Seattle Mariner. What a surprise and potentially a treat that would be if he pitches well today, and they're going to try him on Friday and Sunday, too. They're going to see if maybe they can get some lightning in a bottle with him and give him that Frankie Francisco role that obviously you got to fill because Frankie's still not ready.
Yeah, and you're still looking for that right-hander that has that kind of arm with a little experience. You know, you've got Ogando down there who has a big arm, and Darren O'Day coming from the Sudbury side. But you'd like to have a guy for that eighth inning you can hand the ball to and say, here, this inning is yours. I don't care, a left-hander or right-hander, you go get him. And you know, if he is healthy and his stuff is where it needs to be, he's that kind of a guy.
Lowe putting up some big numbers for these Seattle Mariners before the Rangers got him as what was perceived to be a throw-in in the Cliff Lee deal, but I don't think the Rangers saw him as a throw-in. They saw him as somebody they really wanted to have.
Well, I think it's a little bit like the Nelly Cruz trade. You hope that you can sign Cliff Lee long-term, but there's no guarantee. And if you don't, you'd like to have something to show for the trade. And in this particular case, if that happens, it would be Mark Lowe.
On the ground is short, and with the infield in, the runner's got a hold. I think that's a great point. And remember, that trade was for a Lee as well. The big name coming over was Carlos Lee in that deal. And Nelson Cruz was seen as a throw-in. Carlos Lee moved on. Cliff Lee may or may not move on. We don't know that yet. But, yeah, you'd like to have something that you know you're going to have. And now that trade looks real good just because you've got Nelson Cruz. Infield stays in. Matt Mangini, the hitter. And it's fouled. Buzz, I guess one thing you're not concerned about heading into the playoffs, you like what you got at closer, right?
I would hope so. If you don't like that, you're in trouble.
Yeah, if the Rangers go into postseason play saying we got to find a closer, we're in trouble.
They got a guy with a rookie saves record right there. Feliz with 38.
But you talk about surprises on the team this year. That's got to rank right up there with C.J. Wilson. And C.J. I think kind of wore off after a while. You weren't surprised, but Neftali Feliz coming in with his lack of experience and just taking over. I mean, he looks like he is a duck in water. He's just as happy as can be, and he doesn't show any signs of cracking anytime soon.
Strike 3 to Mangini. So Derek Holland comes out and does everything you want him to. Gets the ground out and the strikeout, and if you can get Greg Hallman, he's out of the inning.
He comes in throwing quality strikes. He fooled him with that pitch. That was a pretty good pitch to hit, but it came after a couple of breaking balls. I just don't think Mangini was quite ready for it. And he knew it.
The Dutchman, Greg Hallman, will take outside. Dutch against Dutch here. Really, kind of. Holland against a guy from Holland. Hallman had some big home run numbers in AAA this year. Nice block by Trainer. And as we've talked about, Buzz, Seattle last in the league in home runs. They're looking for their Smokes and their Hallmans to succeed now, so they can actually plug in some power going forward.
Yeah, they've got some young potential. As you mentioned, the Mangini and Smoke, and Tuiasosopo has pretty good power too. Young players that they're going to have to build around.
That's ball 4 to Hallman. They'll point to the fact that their AAA team won the title this year. You can build off of that. Another guy coming up right now, Michael Saunders. They think has a chance to be something too. Saunders used to play baseball and hockey with and against the starter from today, Rich Harden. Got the better of Harden today with a single and a walk. Both those guys from the southern part of the province of British Columbia, Canada, not too far from Seattle. You ever spend any time up there in BC?
I have not, Josh. I
think if you like Seattle, you'll like that, boy.
I love Seattle. I've heard Vancouver is just a spectacular place.
Roped over to first, and Cantu's got it. Holland is out of the inning. Steve Busby, the birthday boy, our guest. Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. Thanks,
Good to see you.
You don't look a day over 58.
I wish. Back with more in a moment. An antlers parade on the warning track. Get to the third base ramp by 1 o'clock with your claw and or antlers. The claw and antlers stuff available, by the way, here at the Majestic Grand Slam shop at the ballpark. TexasRangers.com has your ticket information, or you can call 972-RANGERS. Rangers and either the Yankees or the Rays in the first round of the postseason starting a week from today. If it is the Yankees, it'll be 4 for 4 for this franchise. 4 times they'll have been in the playoffs, and all 4 times drawing New York. That's an 8-point fan right there, Tag. Trainer is now down 1-2.
An impressive set of antlers right there, I'll say that. He's got to be careful. If he jumps up for a foul ball, he doesn't spear somebody sitting behind him.
Trainer will one hop it to Figgins. Ole. Got him. Andres Blanco will come up next. First, we go to Jim Knox.
Okay, Josh, we got the Ranger Junior College baseball and softball team in the house today. This is Bobby, plays left field for the Rangers. What is this, like an early skip day?
We couldn't have picked a better day to skip some classes and come out and support the 2010 AL West champs, Texas Rangers, on their run to the playoffs.
Coach brought you today, right? Coach knows all about this.
Oh, yeah, he's here. We all hopped in the back of his truck on the way here.
Oh. Enjoy the rest of the game. Very much. Hey, we even got Brett Favre back for another game. It's everywhere. Way to go, Brett.
Tell him to pick it up. My fantasy team is dying. Thanks, Jim. Blanco will send one in the air to right. And Ichiro will find it, make the catch. That'll bring up Julio Bourbon.
J.J. Henry from TCU on the PGA Tour with his son Connor, watching a little baseball. J.J. is a big baseball fan. Sorry to say he grew up in Connecticut and he's a Yankee fan, but that's okay. J.J. lives and plays out of Mira Vista over in Fort Worth.
Bourbon trying to bunt and watch out. That one coming in and looked like he got at least a piece of that ball on the hand. 17 bunt hits for Bourbon. On your Ford leaderboard, you got 2 of the top 3 this year as Rangers. Bourbon requiring a little bit of a look here or not. He's going to wave away the assistant trainer, Kevin Harmon. Just wants a moment here. Popped back into the crowd. It's been a steadily burgeoning crowd here today. We started out at probably 15 or 16,000. Got to be up over 20 now. There's that first bunt attempt we're talking about.
Yeah, that ball didn't hit the bat. That hit his hand. He squared around to bunt, had his hand wrapped around the bat, and he fouled it off, right off his hand. So he's lucky that ball didn't pin his fingers to his bat and really do some damage. Batting glove helps a little bit.
Did you ever check out those new batting gloves that are kind of tapered?
I've seen those. The ones that have the pads on them. I've seen those, and I don't know how many players are using them. They certainly offer a little more protection. I don't know if they're comfortable for the hitters or not. I haven't heard much comment on that.
Vargas with a 1-2. Slow roller. Can Bourbon beat it out? Oh, you bet. Another infield hit.
Such a weapon. Seattle sees that all day long with Ichiro. And that's the kind of player that I think Bourbon is trying to become. And boy, he's made a lot of progress this year. slap that ball, keep it on the ground.
I think ever since he had that conversation with Juan Pierre in Chicago, Tom, that it seems to have taken. I don't know if that's coincidence or not, but
I think that helps. But you still have to get comfortable making the kind of contact that you need to make, getting the bunt down. And it's pretty simple to know that you have to lay down bunts and take advantage of your speed, but early in the year he just wasn't able to do that. He fouled them off, bunted at bad pitches, got behind in the count. Now pretty much when he gets a decent pitch to bunt, he bunts it accurately and has beaten so many of them out this year.
hard hit off the glove of the third baseman, and Mangini can't hold it. Well, the Rangers will have 2 on now with 2 out. Nice chance for Michael Young coming up.
Well, the Rangers continue to pile on those infield hits. Assuming that's an infield hit.
We'll wait and see how they score it. Yep, base hit. Ian appreciates that because that keeps him in range to maybe get that batting average to 300. Michael Young had an infield hit last time up. Runners are both going. The throw to third, no way. Double steal. Nobody does that more often. Nobody does it better than the Texas Rangers. That's a little base hit right now. Will make this a 4-3 game. A big base hit would tie it up. And Michael Young close, but doesn't get it. And the inning ends 4-1, Seattle into 5. Brought to you by your Texas Chevy dealers, proud sponsor of Texas baseball, and by Corona, who invites you to find your beach. Gorgeous afternoon here in Arlington. The Rangers just trying to gear up and get ready for that postseason series against whom we do not know right now. It's down to 2 teams, New York or Tampa Bay. Those teams will be finishing their regular seasons on the road. The Yankees will be going up against Boston. That's kind of the annual thing. And Tampa Bay will be at Kansas City. Tampa Bay's got 4 at Kansas City. New York's got 3 with Boston. And that's where that half a game will finally catch up. Tampa Bay will play the one more game down the stretch. And I guess that is the topic of the week, Tag. Now that we know that the Rangers are going, everybody's asking their neighbor, okay, would you rather? Who do you want? You want New York or Tampa Bay?
Well, it's a question there's no right or wrong answer to, that's for sure.
The Rangers did not win on the road against either team this year. But they played very well against the Yankees here in Arlington, winning 4 out of 5. Rangers won 2 out of 3 against Tampa Bay here. The teams you absolutely didn't want to get were two teams are not going to make it anyway. Toronto and Baltimore were the teams that the Rangers really struggled against this year. That ball rocketed into left center field. Guillermo Quiroz on his way to second base, and he'll have himself a leadoff double. These Mariners, who haven't hit all year, finding their stride here in Arlington.
Pretty good pitch to hit. 3-2, looking fastball all the way. Hitter becomes a much better hitter when you're looking for a fastball. You get a fastball, and it's in a good spot to hit.
Cornerman in a little bit. The number 9 man is up. That's Chris Woodward. And a strike to him. You look at the Rangers' overall record this year, Tom, and you start to break it down. Some things you really do like. Winning the close games, especially here at home. The Rangers in one-run games here are 20-6. The assumption is made there will be a close game or two in the postseason. They're usually low-scoring games with real good pitching. Inside to Woodward, 2-1. Seattle's played these Rangers fairly tough, especially of late. The teams they got clobbered by were the Angels and the White Sox. They went 4-15 this year against the Angels. And in 10 tries to beat Chicago, they got that done one time. Don Wakamatsu was at the helm until August the 8th. Then the Amarillo native, Darren Brown, took over on an interim basis August 9th. Be interesting to see what they do for 2011. Whether they give Darren Brown a chance to keep going or not. Slowly towards short and in to left field. Boy, another full count and another base hit.
No, it's just the same situation. You get to a full count. Don't want to walk the guy. The hitter knows it. He gets a fastball and he hits it. It's all about, for a young pitcher, learning how to command your off-speed pitches so that you can throw something other than a fastball with confidence and for a strike. That's things, growing pains that young pitchers go through, learning and being comfortable being able to do that. More often you get behind and have to throw a fastball to throw a strike, the tougher it will be to get hitters out.
First pitch strike to Ichiro. Holland on for Harden. It was 4-1 when Harden left the game. And Derek Holland The 747th pick in the 2006 draft. Certainly come a long way. Down and outside, 1-2. Got that infield. Pretty much a double play depth here. You don't want to fall too far behind, but you might want to get the 2 outs in exchange for a run here. It's so tough to double up Ichiro, and that ball right under the glove of Blanco. It is 5-1, and there's still nobody out.
Blanco is trying to get in position to make that throw to second base. He had no play other than a force out at second base. And I'm sure that's what he was thinking about, and unfortunately wasn't able to catch the ball to try it.
Mike Maddox goes out to the mound to talk to Holland. There's no action in the Ranger bullpen quite yet. Quick reminder about college football Saturday with Kansas and Baylor, the featured game. And by the way, going back to that last play, they're going to score that in error. So
that's a tough error right there.
Ichiro gets an RBI, but does not get hit number 209.
I'd be a little upset if I was the hitter on that one, but since it's Ichiro, that's his problem. Does get an RBI though.
It's a consolation prize. Another tough guy to double up. We'll see if Sean Figgins is bunting here. Oh, looking to swing, mashing one in the center. It's going to drop. And the bases are full of Mariners. Figgins on base 4 times, 3 hits and a hit by pitch. It's kind of the extended version, delayed reaction, time release hangover right here. The Rangers won that clinching game on Saturday. They came out Sunday and got 16 runs on 22 hits. Now they're not looking so great these last 3 days. Gutierrez pops one up. Into the crowd she goes. We've talked about that whole myth of momentum before. I think 10 years ago might have been the best ever example, Tom. The Yankees lost every game their final week. They went 0-7. In fact, they lost 13 of their last 15. And then won the World Series. Almost swept the Mets.
Yeah, how do you figure that?
Just turns out they were really, really good, right? And then, you know, anybody can have a bad week. They just had theirs week 26. With the bases loaded. Laced foul. Holland has already pitched out of a tough spot once today. Came on with a runner at third, nobody out when Harden left the game in the 5th. That was necessary right there. They took care of Gutierrez, but now up comes Justin Smoke.
In Derek's last start, he threw the ball well, and one of the reasons was he had pretty good off-speed pitches. He threw a lot of good change-ups in that start. That's a good off-speed pitch, a good slider down and in. Got the strikeout with it.
Smoke has homered in all 3 games of this series. He has driven in 7 runs on those 3 swings. Holland starts him off speed, strike 1. Holland gets ahead again, 0-2. Got good speed aboard here for Seattle. And Smoke puts one in the alley. You're talking about 8-1. Smoke in the first inning, 2-run shot. Your Coors Light cold hard blast. Derek Holland wins out. And he has cleared the 2 hurdles that he needs to get out of the inning. Let's see if he can get number 3 here with Matt Mangini.
It's a case of a young pitcher trying to command the off-speed pitch and a young hitter trying to gain the confidence of hitting the off-speed pitch. Got Smoke to miss some sliders in that at bat. Got him to swing wildly at one out of the strike zone.
Mangini only 1 big league RBI so far. But obviously a great chance to add to that total here. Line to foul into the crowd. And give Holland this, Tag. At least he's not falling behind these hitters now. Mangini in this game, couple strikeouts, and he's hit into a double play. Oh, looking for the outside corner. Didn't get that call. The ground ball. Kinsler's got it. Nice recovery by Derek Holland. A lot of trouble at the top of that inning, but strikeout, ground out. It stays 5-1. $5,000. You can register at any North Texas Sonic restaurant. But you are running out of time. 3, 4, 5 in the Ranger batting order, bottom of the 6th. And Derek Holland pitched out of a tough spot to keep it 5-1 Seattle. Give the Rangers a fighting chance to come back here off of Vargas. Cantu, a couple of infield pop-ups. Will take down and outside. Nine Seattle hits today. They'd come into this series, Tom, with the worst batting average by far in the American League, but doing a pretty good job here in 3 days anyway. It speaks volumes for the Mariners. Their DHs this year combined are hitting 198. That's supposed to be your, designated hitter.
Well, that started right off the bat when Ken Griffey Jr. was the DH. Mike Sweeney was the DH from the right side. And there's just kind of two veteran guys getting toward the end of their careers that weren't swinging the bats the way we've seen them do it in the past.
A little more pop-up theater here from Cantu. Brings up Jeff Francoeur. It was kind of sad the way the whole Griffey thing ended because he was such an icon. Still loved, of course, in that city, and it just had kind of an odd vibe at the end. I always pictured Griffey getting, the big parade around the warning track or something, like they did for Edgar Martinez.
It doesn't go good for veteran players who stay a little bit too long and aren't the players or anywhere near the players that they used to be. And in Griffey's case, the performance problem started the year before, but he was such a positive person on the team that they wanted him back. But there wasn't a whole lot of reason to expect that his performance was going to spike upwards after the way that he had hit the year before. He wasn't a guy that they felt comfortable playing in the outfield.
High fly ball from Francoeur.
And so they ended up with Griffey. They ended up with Mike Sweeney. And they ended up with Milton Bradley, who essentially is a DH, but a guy who they had to play in the outfield. Just really wasn't a well-constructed team right off the bat.
You mentioned Mike Sweeney. Boy, a happy ending there for him. Like Michael Young, had never been to the postseason. He ends up going to Philly. And now for the first time, he does get a chance to see what that's all about.
Yeah, and I never really got to know Mike Sweeney that well, but talking to the people that do know him pretty well, I guess there's not a better guy that you'd ever meet in baseball.
He is right up there, boy. I don't know if you saw the cover story on Jim Thome in Sports Illustrated from this week, Tom. There's another guy that everybody just kind of seems to root for. Ozzie Guillen was quoted in there saying, I hate the Twins, but everybody loves Thome. I think Michael Young's getting some of that kind of love showered his way, too. Talked to a lot of people in baseball. It's one of the first things they say is good for Michael Young. Finally getting there. Moreland with a foul. For Sweeney, it was 1,450 games without getting to the postseason. Michael Young at 1,503, 1,504 and counting right now. Randy Winn stands alone. He's the guy with the most games without ever getting there. And he's played for the Yankees and the Cardinals this year. You figured he was a shoo-in this year, but he's no longer with the Yankees, and the Cardinals aren't going to make it. A little bit outside. Benji Molina will come up. That was the first walk allowed by Vargas. Little bubble blowing action right there, Tech.
Yes, it is.
Very little. There we go. And now the lovely Lennon sisters. That doesn't make me hip that I can do Lawrence Welk, does it? Just kind of cements my dorkiness.
Depends who your audience is,
well,
I guess.
If you're 83
your audience
and
is my mother and father, they probably like it.
If you're in your 80s and watching in North Dakota, that was for you guys. Molina right near the line. That's fair. They're calling it fair. And Benji Molina ends up at first base. Laz Diaz looked like he kind of thought about it for a second, and then he signaled that crossed the bag fair and then ended up foul.
He might have gotten turned around. Sometimes an umpire is thinking I'm pointing toward left field, and when in reality he's pointing the other way. Bottom line is to get it right in time, and he did. Benji hits it right off the end of the bat, just barely over. And I think maybe Laz, judging by the way he put his hands over his head, might have anticipated the ball was going to be foul and then realized it was fair and made a quick correction and called it fair. And as it was, he did it in plenty of time. There's 2 outs, so the runner, is not going to do anything differently.
Two balls, no strikes to Matt Trainer.
And the Rangers have kind of been in this situation the last couple of days where they've been behind, and you're hoping for that one big swing of the bat to get right back in it. First day, Nelly Cruz did that, got the 3-run homer.
Carl Willis out to talk now with Vargas. They get Garrett Olson loosening in their bullpen. Oh, you're hoping one big swing can get the Rangers back in it. That was a big swing, but it's fouled. There's the former Oriole, Garrett Olson. See John Wetland, the former Ranger closer, as the bullpen coach for Seattle. First and third, 2 out. Another foul by Trainer. But a couple of hits on Monday. There's a sac fly in this one. The only Ranger run coming off his bat. Two on, 2 out, 2-2 pitch. We will do it again. Fan had a shot at that ball. She didn't have her glove actually on. She was holding the glove, it looked like. It didn't actually have it on her hand, which turned out to be a problem.
And that would be Jack and Heidi Vick.
You know everybody.
Ball game. I know them. Their daughter Erin played volleyball with my daughter Katie.
Slow roller, second base. And yep, that is the final out of the inning. 5-1 Seattle at the end of 6 today.
with a strained groin. Spoke with him before the game. He and Julio Borbon, the only guys who have been in the lineup each and every day since the clinch has happened. David said, look, I'm a professional baseball player. I got enough days off earlier in the season. I want to play, and I want to play every day. Hopefully, the groin is not in that bad shape, and he'll be able to get back on the field soon, guys.
Thank you, Em. Yeah, we're all looking forward to seeing what we find out about that more in-depth injury report. 5-1 Seattle. They've had quite a series here, playing their last road game of the season. Holland to Hallman to open things up. Last inning, a very interesting inning. First 4 men reached for Seattle. They had already cashed in a run. And then Holland with 2 strikeouts and a ground out. The Rangers sitting Guerrero and Cruz and Andrews today. And the talk is that Josh Hamilton will be playing on Friday if all continues to go well.
Well, watching Josh run the bases today, it looked like he's made some pretty good progress. Still hasn't gotten to the point where he's taken a full hard swing, but boy, the progress over the last couple of days has been pretty encouraging. Watching him shag balls in the outfield look pretty normal.
Yeah, look like himself.
Yep. Well, that would be a really nice development if Josh can get back on the field and be ready to go in postseason. And he's not playing an easy position for that. It's not like he's a DH or a first baseman. He's going to have to do some running if he plays center field.
3 of the last 4 have struck out now against Holland. And again, at some point today, Tag, the plan is to fire it up and see Mark Lowe as a Ranger against his former team.
Another surprise candidate for the postseason roster.
Strike 1 to Saunders.
Yeah, Derek's starting to get a little bit of a groove now.
Yep. And a nice rhythm out there. Pours in another one.
It's a little bit of an adjustment for a starting pitcher to get loose quickly and come in the middle of an inning, and that's what he did back in the 5th inning. Now it looks like he's kind of settled into a starter's groove.
He's rolling. Struck out 4 of the last 5.
A pretty impressive fastball right there.
Oh, and again, nothing completely set yet in terms of who that last reliever is going to be in the postseason. Holland trying to stake his claim as a guy that can be counted on, should be considered. Now, if the Rangers have the good fortune to move on, you can readjust for the next series, right? You can make a change.
Yeah.
Meaning you could pitch the heck out of one guy if you really needed to for those 5 games, and then if you feel like you just exhausted him, I'll just replace him with somebody else for the 7-game series coming up. Nicely done, Derek Holland. To the 7th inning stretch here in Arlington. Mariners 5 and the Rangers 1. TexasBaseball.com. Five to 1 Seattle, and the Mariners make a pitching change. Jason Vargas finally getting a little bit of run support anyway here. Tag 5 must feel like a real lot for him. First time in his last 7 starts he's gotten more than 2. They'll turn to Garrett Olson now. And Guillermo Quiroz will meet him out there to talk about what to do with Andres Blanco.
Just went down and asked John Blake a question that I didn't know the answer for. If a player gets hurt in the first round of the playoffs badly and needs to be replaced, you can replace that player during the first round of the playoffs with another player. But the rule is he then couldn't play in the second round of the playoffs. So you can be replaced, but you couldn't play in the second round. If you went all the way to the World Series, you could then come back for the World Series.
Blanco nails one into center. I want to say it was Charlie Finley that tried to kind of play fast and loose with that one year for the Oakland A's. Tried to pass off an injury that really wasn't. And
it might have been Mike Andrews.
I think that's right.
Playing second base for him.
That is the one. So it's something that is policed, obviously, but.
Well, you know, it could come into play with a player who makes the postseason roster, and let's just use Josh Hamilton for an example. He makes the postseason roster, but then right off the bat is just not healthy. You could replace him because he could re-injure himself, but then the decision would be that he couldn't play in the second round of the playoffs when he might have been healthy enough to play anyway. So there is somewhat of a penalty if you do make that kind of move.
On the ground, a hard from Bourbon. He's now 1 for 3. Kinsler coming up, and folks, you can watch Fox Sports every weekend for the best college football action. Send in your video telling us why you're the McDonald's fan of the season. Go to fanoftheseason.com today. 23,052 fans here on a 79-degree Wednesday afternoon. And yes, we will see Mark Lowe as promised today.
I can remember when the Rangers made the trade and we were reading about Mark Lowe, and he was just hoping that he could get back on the field before the season was over. No one had any idea whether he'd be able to do that. It has to be a pretty satisfying day for him.
Well, he worked really diligently.
He must have.
Rangers will take him out for a test drive here today. Kinsler towards short. Backhand pickup. High throw. Skips all the way into the stands, and down to second goes Kinsler. Second time that Kinsler has reached on what looked like a harmless ground ball. And a chance for Michael Young. Michael fouls one. Another hit from Michael. And he will not hit 300 this year, unfortunately, but somewhere in the 290s, he's got a shot at that. Now the Rangers looking for some two-out thunder here. Not the cleanest game played today. Been 4 errors, 2 from each side. The Rangers hadn't made an error in 7 games in it today. Catching up with them a bit this afternoon. They've been held to 5 hits today. Down and blocked by Quiroz. Hey, Ron Valentine, I just learned, our Ace Audio guys, his last game today, so I want to give a quick thank you to Ron.
Thanks for everything, Ron.
Also, Mike Brandt, better known as Mookie. His last game today. So, Mookie, thank you.
Thanks, Mookie.
The 2-2 is fouled one more time. We do have an outstanding support crew here in Arlington. The guy's working in that TV truck that's parked under the left field foul pole. You'll never see it, but it's out there, and that's why we're on the air. So thanks, guys. Right next to the dumpsters, conveniently placed. Line shot, and that's a base hit for Michael Young. Rangers back to within 5-2. Young stops at second with a double. Unearned run. The Rangers taking advantage of that error at short by Woodward. We have seen Michael Young go the other way a few times. Well, looks like Seattle will make a pitching change now. Jamie Wright, the former Ranger, had been up. We'll see if that's the guy they're bringing in. Rangers back to within 3, and we'll come back and tell you about Jamie Wright in just a moment. Keeping your lawn lush and green, visit Lowe's for a chance to win a VIP World Series experience. Compliments of Scott's. Jorge Cantu is going to bat, and he's going to do it against a former Ranger, former Royal, among others, Jamie Wright. Spent some time with Cleveland and now with Seattle. ERA is under 4. Native Oklahoman. Lives right here in the Metroplex during the offseason now. Would have been convenient if Seattle had ended the season here on this road trip. But nope, he's got to go back to the Pacific Northwest to play 3 games and then come home. He throws a wild pitch. Young scoots to third. A geographically challenging last road trip for Seattle. Tampa Bay, Toronto, Texas. And then all the way back to Seattle. Every year the Mariners travel more than any other team because of where they're located.
Yeah, that's one team and one team's personnel who you don't complain about your travel arrangements to. They don't want to hear it.
Well, and next year, just to kind of compound everything, their scheduled trip to play the Florida Marlins, the stadium unavailable because there's a U2 concert. So they're talking about moving that one to Puerto Rico. That's an easy flight. Seattle to San Juan. 1 and 2 to Cantu. Rangers played in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
It was the big Alex Rodriguez rollout.
We didn't broadcast those games, did we?
I was in Detroit then, sir, so I don't know.
I don't think we did. We did not go to Puerto Rico. It turned out to be 3 days off.
So you missed A-Rod's debut?
I don't know what it was for A-Rod. I just know I wasn't in Puerto Rico for the games. You could have gotten a few days off to go down and see A-Rod, though, if you wanted to, probably.
Yeah, I guess. It really meant that much to you, you know.
You saying you don't care about A-Rod?
No, I'm not saying that.
Oh.
I'm just saying I was working for the Tigers at the time, and it was not my universe. It's fouled at home plate. Rangers being out hit 9-6. Now it's scored 5-2. Three pop-outs for Cantu. That was all against the starter, Vargas. Now working over the veteran right-hander, Jamie Wright. A little better contact this time, but it's going to be a ground out to end the inning. The Rangers get one. It was unearned. They're back to within 5-2. Strike zone, Mr. Grieve, and he's done pitching now, but boy, he did his best work late in the game.
He got behind in the count early in his appearance, had to groove some fastballs, gave up a couple of hits and a run. And then once he got command of his pitches, he was pretty much untouchable. Only walked the one batter and struck out 5 in 3 innings. Only gave up the 1 run.
After Rich Harden struggled today, giving up the 4 runs in 4 innings. Now, Mark Lowe makes his Ranger debut. Again, he came over from these Mariners in the Cliff Lee deal July the 9th. A lifetime 3.95 ERA, and he's familiar with Arlington. He went to UTA. Houston native with a live arm, and when he's right, he's throwing 96. He starts out at 94.
Pretty close to being right.
Again, this is just kind of a kicking of the tires here for the Rangers to see if possibly he could be a guy on the postseason roster. 95 and right ahead of Chris Woodward, 0-2. And a good slider with a late, quick break. Always had a decent changeup, too. That's fouled. Everything mid-90s. It's a good sign. Seattle's number 5 pick back in 2004. And shot up pretty quickly through the ranks. Got to Seattle for the first time in 06. "27 years old now. Tried that slider again, 2-2. So he's been getting the fastballs over and missed with a couple of sliders. Very early returns here for Lowe. Nicely done.
Very good. Started off with the heat, ended up with off speed. Got Woodward way out in front of it for strike 3. Got a nice changeup.
Last time Lowe was on the mound was May 2nd. It was against the Rangers. He went on the DL right after that with lower back inflammation and then had some surgery in the middle of June. And microdiscectomy. Ground ball immediately from Ichiro. Sean Figgins comes up. We go to Jim Knox.
All right, thanks, Josh. Real quick time for the Ranger fan of the game. It has to be Bill from Garland, longtime Ranger fan coming from game 1. He's got Rusty Greer, Jim Sundberg autograph on the glove. Also came up with a nice homemade deer head. And you also got some interesting comments today, Bill?
Yes, sir. When we were in the gift shop, there was a couple of guys coming out, and one of them turned to his friend and said, "I'll bet you never see that in the UK."
Very nice. Okay, well, here's your hat. Here's your year's supply of gunshot shells. No, I'm just kidding on that. Congratulations. It makes a great hat holder right there. Bill, the Ranger fan of the game. Way to go, guys.
Something to hang your hat on. One strike to count to Figgins. And Lowe has to get out of the way. They just can't get Sean Figgins out today. 4 hits and hit by a pitch. 4 out of the 10 Seattle hits from one guy. And again, just too little too late for Figgins. 36 hits this month. One of the top totals in the majors. But they had a terrible April and May. Hummed in there at 95 to Gutierrez. I think you certainly can't say anything bad yet about what you're seeing out of Lowe.
I think the most impressive thing is he's thrown 8 out of 10 pitches for strikes. One was swung at that was a little bit out of the strike zone, but point is he's throwing hard and he's throwing strikes.
Rangers will have 4, 5, 6 in the order coming up in the bottom of the 8th. one blasted back into the crowd. Again, tomorrow night, 7:05 game. Same story on Friday and Saturday. Then Sunday, the regular season finale at 2:05, Fan Appreciation Day. So come on out and be appreciated. Wide throw, but Cantu able to knock it down. Seattle got the 2-run homer from Justin Smoke back in the first. His third homer of the series. Rangers came back with one in the bottom of the second when we had Commissioner Selig in the booth. Then he left, and Seattle got 2 in the fifth and 1 in the sixth. Rangers back with 1 in the seventh. Wave and a miss, and Mark Lowe's debut as a Ranger, not half bad. Bottom of the eighth coming. 5-2 Mariners. Standing room tickets remaining for what will be games 3 and 4 of the ALDS here. Home games 1 and 2. Individual luxury suites. You were looking live at some of those available. Hey, look, yeah, that's you. That's right. Yeah, cool. 972 Rangers or TexasRangers.com, where you can go to get your tickets. And maybe the TBS guys will surprisingly put you on TV.
You know, when you're just sitting there relaxing in a box watching a game,
right.
You don't expect to see yourself on TV. I can understand the surprise.
Especially if you were, scratching an itch or something like that, and you're, not really ready to be looked at. Hard hit, base hit, Jeff Francoeur.
Jeff swung the bat well today. He had a double off the top of the wall the first time up. Then he lined out to right, a ball that looked like a base hit but just kept going. And then he lined out to center, flied out to center pretty deep. He's hit the ball hard all 4 times in the game. Good aggressive swings with solid contact.
Moreland came on for Murphy back in the second inning. David leaving with what we're told is a strained groin muscle. And obviously he's got a week now to get that better. Josh Hamilton trying to get better enough that he can be part of the postseason plans. He's going to try at full speed, we are told, on Friday. Josh Hamilton getting tired of just watching for sure. This is his 24th straight game that he's had to miss. Two balls, one strike to Moreland. Molina on deck. It has helped that Seattle is stranded 10. It's not able to pull away from the Rangers today. Mostly a credit to Derek Holland. Fouled away one more time. Towards those luxury suites. Bouncing off the siding and down a couple of rows. They're having a good time in that section, boy. The rally caps on. In the air towards left. And Benji Molina will be the batter. Now, Smoke, of course, was a first baseman for the Rangers this year. You've seen Mitch Moreland there, Chris Davis, Jorge Cantu. Ryan Garco back in the day. Remember that? Doesn't that seem like 2 years ago?
Sure does. I just assumed that Ryan would go down to AAA for a week or a month and be right back, but it just didn't work out for him that way.
I remember thinking the same thing about the relief pitcher Jeff Geary in spring training. Guy, with plenty of skins on the wall, didn't have a great spring training, but figured we'll see that guy again. Base hit, Molina. Second time he's gone to right today, and just like that, you got the tying man coming up, only one out. Got a pinch runner at first now for Molina. It'll be Esteban Herman. Benji DHing today, so he still stay with Matt Trainer catching. There's been action in the Seattle bullpen. And it looks like they will make that move now. Dan Cortez was the guy who was warming. We'll see if that's who they go and grab right now. With a 5-2 score, we'll be right back on Fox Sports Southwest. they will do the job, I guess. Everybody wants to have the claw and antlers thing going these days. So even if all you have is a couple of sports,
you can improvise.
Happy crowd of 23,000 plus today. They'd be happier if the Rangers can keep coming back. Dan Cortez, not the guy that was the actor on Melrose Place. Different Dan Cortez, different spelling. Getting into his third game for the Mariners here. And he's in kind of a tight spot. Matt Trainer taking inside. Rangers getting a couple of base runners here in the 8th. Cortez has retired all 6 batters he's faced in his 2 big league appearances. He struck out the side his last time out. The guy that started the year, Tom, at Double-A. Had an ERA of 5.27. Got promoted, and at AAA was right around 5 as well, but so far so good in the big leagues. Three balls, no strikes. Hello. Bases loaded. Just 1 out. What a time this would be for the first home run of the year for Blanco. You don't need that necessarily. Just kind of keep the conveyor belt moving here. Walker or not.
A little line drive right down the left field line would be pretty sweet.
I don't know, Tag. I'm feeling it. Might have to put in the call for Blanco. There's a saying out there. It's time.
Okay. Well, if he hits the same ball that he hit in Kansas City, it'll be a home run in this ballpark.
That's the one I'm going for.
Okay.
Of course, first, Cortez has to throw a strike.
Yeah, Cortez has some pretty amazing movement on his sinker. Problem is he can't figure out how to make it move into the strike zone. Good velocity, mid-90s with it. A lot of movement.
Loaded up with Rangers here in the 8th. Bourbon on deck. 2 balls, no strikes, no place to put them.
You got a take right here. Down by 3 runs, 1 out, bases loaded. He's thrown 6 straight balls. Either that or you have to make sure you get a real good pitch to hit. And do not be late.
Uh-oh. 3 balls, no strikes. Walks him in, 5-3. Other Dan Cortez could have done that. 8 balls, no strikes. And now Bourbon. Carl Willis will head on out there to talk to his young pitcher, and there will be some action in the Seattle bullpen. Brian Sweeney. Well, those flames burning behind Cortez. One of the hottest hitters going for the Rangers coming up, Bourbon. Getting 340 over the last month. He's been that hot. Nice dissolve.
He's thrown 8 straight balls. You're the hitter. Again, you probably should be taking right here, but if you do swing, you better swing at a good pitch.
9 balls and no strikes.
He had thrown a fastball for a strike, so he tried what looked like a slider and missed out of the strike zone.
Got one in.
No doubt about the arm strength. The last one he popped in there at 97.
Little floater, center field, dropping, base hit. 5-4, and they're still loaded up.
They ran it in a little bit on the fists. Dropped it right in front of Hallman, the center fielder. Well, now he get a chance to do some damage right here. Maybe put the Rangers ahead.
And if not Kinsler, then Michael Young would be next. And Kinsler's been on base twice. Boy, it felt that tide turning as soon as Francoeur lined it into left to start the inning. Gets away. The Rangers looking to tie it. They do. A wild throw even that way. It's 5-5.
That would have been a close play at the plate, too. The ball bounced off the backstop. The back wall came back. Quiroz through the Cortez, but they couldn't make a catch or a tag. Now the go-ahead runs at third base.
Very interesting. A 3-0 count to Kinsler, the infield in. They got to be thinking, well, let's see what they're thinking here. Time requested by Quiroz. Here comes Trainer. 5-5 with 1 in the 7th and 3 in the 8th. A bullet on the inside corner. He got first base open. And they're not looking to set up that double play possibility. They're going to keep on pitching to Kinsler, infield in. Kinsler pops it up. Exactly what you didn't want.
It's one of those situations Ted Williams used to say all the time. If you're ahead in the count like that, don't get jammed. But Quiroz has a good fastball with good movement on it. Hasn't been throwing strikes, but he's got good stuff. And he made a nice pitch there at the end. He got the ball in on his fist and jammed him.
Wave and a miss by Michael Young. Two strikes.
Good pitch right there.
Close. A collective ooh from the crowd. 1-2.
Very close. Real close.
Inside, and had that gotten to the backstop, that would have been really interesting too. Blanco and Bourbon on base. 2-2 to Michael Young. In the air, center field. And the Rangers will settle for the tie with 3 in the 8th inning. 5-5 with Seattle now. In tying this game at 5, and I think we have to go back and say thank you to Derek Holland for the fine work that he did, keeping the Rangers alive, kept it at 5-1. Now the Rangers have rallied, and Neftali Feliz will come in. Would have been cool if the Rangers had taken the lead and given Neftali a chance to save number 39. He was going to pitch this inning either way. He'll come on, just trying to keep it at 5-5. And looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, you're going to have Cantu scheduled to come up first, and Francoeur, who's been driving the ball today. Then Moreland. Then you got a ton of pinch hit possibilities after that. Guerrero, Cruz, Andrews. First, you got to deal with the smoke monster, though. 3 homers in this series. 2 quick strikes.
And Neftali is really starting to develop confidence in his off-speed pitch. It was a good hard curveball right there for a strike. The more he does that, the tougher that fastball gets to hit.
Kinsler gobbles it up. 1 up, 1 down. Amazing how much easier it is when the count is 0-2. Matt Mangini will bat now. He has not gotten the ball out of the infield today. 2 strikeouts, 2 groundouts. Ten men left on base for Seattle, 9 now for the Rangers. They couldn't get those last couple runners in the bottom of the 8th. Rangers trying to avoid being swept by Seattle. Rangers will win the season series. They're up 11 games to 7. If the Rangers do win, one thing we know is their lead will be 10 games. We just don't know over which team, because the Angels and the A's are playing head-to-head today. Fly ball, right field. To the track, but that's it.
They've done a changeup, and he hit it just enough on the end of the bat.
Well, that is Corey Patterson look to it right there.
To where it didn't carry. Yeah, I wish Corey Patterson hit that one on the end of the bat. Mangini was just a little bit out in front of it. Took just enough off of it, even though it was pretty much grooved, that he didn't get enough of it to sneak it out of the ballpark.
Looks like we're going to see Brandon League for the 3rd straight day, Tom. He's throwing in that Seattle pen. Not a done deal that he'd come in to start the 9th if it's tied.
No, he may be just in case it's a save situation.
Two 2-0 to Greg Hallman. 1 hit in the big leagues so far. Two and two. Got him. And the Rangers now can win it in the bottom of the 9th when we come back. Ford is the best in Texas. Way up, Little Longhorn. We got a 5-5 ball game in the bottom of the 9th. And just a reminder, Tom, you rock.
Thank you.
You really
do too.
Well, thanks. Don't believe everything you read.
No, but I appreciate the compliment.
Jorge Cantu can be the hero right here. One swing from somebody could end this game. Dan Cortez stays on the mound. Had a real problem throwing strikes when he first came on last inning, which is why the Rangers are back in this game. Not throwing them yet here. Jammed him. He pops it up back into the crowd. Just blowing a bubble. No big deal. Francoeur and Moreland to follow. In the center it goes. Hallman for out number 1. Jeff Francoeur, as you said earlier, Tom, every time he's been up there today, he's hit the ball very solidly.
He's had some aggressive swings. And that's not surprising based on what the Rangers have seen since he's been here. That's been his style every at-bat that he's had.
It'll downshift the aggressiveness right there, off speed. One walk-off for Francoeur as a Ranger, and he did not swing the bat to get it done. He got hit by a pitch. A bases loaded to HBP to beat the Yankees. One and two. Got a young pitcher out there, the 23-year-old Danny Cortez. From the LA area, from Pomona. Francoeur, the Atlanta guy, still lives here in the offseason. Another fly ball. This time it's going to be Ichiro in right. And we'll see if Mitch Moreland can play the role of hero. Ogando getting ready if there's a 10th. And for now, Herman is on deck. Rangers have a shot at the all-time best home record in this ballpark. Need to win out to get that done. Trying to rally for Ron Washington today. They were down 5-1. Now it's 5-5. Are you turning Moreland loose here? 3-0. Get the right pitch.
You know, I think I would. With 2 outs, less than 2 outs, probably not. But if he walks, Herman is the next hitter. Trainer after that. Guys that probably would be more likely to hit a single than an extra base hit. So under those circumstances, you get a good pitch to hit. Try to hit the extra base hit right here for Moreland.
.96-mile-an-hour heat. Now 3-2. He's on. Herman will be called back. And the man responsible for the most walk-off hits this year for the Rangers is coming up. The man with the boomstick. There have been 3 walk-off homers this year from the Rangers. Nelson Cruz on July 27th. Nelson Cruz on August 13th. Nelson Cruz on September 10th. Not the fastball to get him going. Matt Trainor's on deck. He had a walk-off homer a few Mother's Days ago to beat the Angels, and now 3 walk-off homers this year. Takes on the inner half. Strike called. Good pitch. Five runs, 10 hits, 2 errors for Seattle. 5-9-2 for the Rangers. We will do it again. It gets away. A swing and a miss, but they got to throw out Nelly Cruz. And they throw it into left field. Here comes Moreland. Ichiro is up with it, and his throw is going to be too late. Ball game.
That's right up there with an all-timer right there. Man on first base, strike 3. Throw it into right field. Game's over.
They don't even know who to dogpile here. That's a walk-off strikeout.
Nice strikeout, Nelly.
Now we have seen it all.
The key to that was swinging at the pitch. There was a wild pitch and not taking it.
The best strikeout of Nelly Cruz's career will say, so long, Seattle. And if the Mariners lose 100 games, that's the one to look back on and go, yeah, well, amazing. The Rangers come all the way back. They were down 5-1. They win it with a walk-off punch-out. Moreland hightails it around, and Ichiro's the guy that was up and throwing. That gave you a little pitter-pat in your heart right there. And Nelly, the delay in getting there, I think, caused the confusion here. Smoke just got out of Dodge.
There's nothing Cruz could, Smoke could do. If Smoke tries to catch that ball, Nelly at 230 pounds just runs right over him. So Smoke got out of there because he had no choice.
We've seen a walk-off hit batsman and a walk-off strikeout this summer. The third Seattle error of the game ends it. Carrose fires it into right. Congratulations on striking out at a horrible pitch in the dirt, Nelly. Your final, the Rangers 6 and Seattle 5. We go to Jim Knox.
All right, thanks, Josh. Here is Mitch Moreland scored the game winner. You just told me right there you needed the break, huh? You score all the way to the first, and you had to be a pretty good arm and right in Ichiro.
Yeah, definitely. Just tried to go up there and get on base and get something started, and that's what we did. Had a wild pitch and ended up coming around.
Talk about how fun this is for you right now, Mitch. Playoff run, you're heading into the playoffs, and you've had a good part of it this season. Played fairly well this season.
Yeah, I've enjoyed every minute of it. Great team, great group of guys, great fans. That's how I do it in the playoffs.
All right, there you go. Mitch, congratulations on the game winner. Josh, back up to you.
Thank you, Jim. The Rangers with 1 in the 7th, 3 in the 8th, and 1 in the 9th to come back from down 5-1 and beat these Seattle Mariners for win number 88. Rangers Live coming up next.